the dollar. Excuse me. So with USD, things are looking very bullish, and I would be pretty bullish with this one. We're going to see how the weekly candle does close. So far, it's looking very strong. We've got another 13 hours before that candle does close. So a lot of things can happen in that time. But at the moment, it does look like we're pretty confident and we're seeing a lot of momentum and we're clearing this area of resistance. So if that's the case, then I will be under the impression that we are going to continue this momentum to the next key level. And where is the next key level? Right all the way back at this high here, just above 113. So in my book, we could be seeing a lot more strength in USD. And that's why it's always beneficial to look at the higher time frames, because you can get an overview of what the market could do for the next few weeks, potentially a few months. And that does really help, especially if you're a swing trader, because you understand the bias and then you're kind of just looking to take trades in that direction and then kind of ignoring everything else, of course, until things change. But for now, as long as we don't come crashing back down the next couple of weeks, I'm expecting a bit of a trend to form and us to push back into 113. So we'll see how the candle closes. That will confirm it, because, of course, we could still leave a big wick behind and then things look a bit awkward. So I want momentum to sustain and close roughly where we are by the end of the day. And I'll make the judge of that on the weekend when I analyze the charts all together and post my weekly analysis. Make sure you go check that out. But it looks to me that USD strength is most likely here to stay, and we could be seeing a lot more upside. So once that weekly candle does close, I'll confirm things. But more or less, more upside looks likely. We've taken out this high here pretty well too, and I would like some pullbacks for this one, some more upside. I think if you're looking at more of a kind of an intra-week view, this is a nice area of consolidation just before the news earlier this week. Has left behind a really nice area should price come back and retest. I think this would be a nice place to look for some longs, and again, looking for that next high low, this being our next major high low, because of course this created the new high. So looking for pullbacks of that and continuations. And yeah, we've got some nice confidence in that area. So to me, it looks like USD strength is most likely here to stay, and we could still see more upside. Looking at a bit of a pullback now, because of course the market's a bit overextended after the news today, this week, sorry. But we have a good chance of continuing. So pretty bullish on US dollar. We'll wait for the weekly candle to close just to confirm things. But that is definitely the direction I'm leaning towards. EURUSD, of course, has done pretty much the opposite. Really strong move to the downside. Hasn't taken out these lows quite yet. So again, with Euro, I'm leaning towards shorts with this one. It's just not quite set up yet. I'll wait to see how the weekly candle does close. But it does look like we are really starting to take out these lows here. Pretty much the same setup as what we just looked at on the dollar. If we continue this momentum, see a strong close by the end of today, then I do think Euro has a pretty good chance of seeing some more downside to the low. If we are going to be bullish for Euro and things are turning around, then I want to see a really strong move to the upside, taking out this swing high here. Then I'll say, okay, at that point, a big double bottom is formed. And at that point, we're taking out structure. Okay, we're probably going to see a bit of a correction and then some upside. So that's the only way I would be looking at some swing trades to the upside for Euro. If we suddenly have a really big push to the upside, which takes out structure, then okay, possibly at that point, we're going to see some really big buys. If anything else happens, consolidation here, maybe a bit of a bounce, and we end up rolling over and taking out the lows here, then yeah, I would expect Euro to persist, more downside, more bearish trends, upside for dollar. And my plan would just be looking for some nice pullbacks and just keep shorting, really. Going over to Pound USD, I believe this one's still at a similar place at support as well, just about holding onto that area. So it's not a bad place for a buy for Pound USD. I said at the beginning of the week, this could be a nice place for me to get involved. But after seeing what's happened with dollar, I'm definitely going to back away, because it looks like USD strength is most likely here to stay. So I don't really want to be taking any swings, that is, with Pound USD. There could be a nice reaction for today, off the low, something like that, but it may not last too long before coming back down. So I am a bit skeptical of how far this move goes. But if you're looking for more of a trade for the day, it's not a bad place for a buy. Market's a bit overextended, coming to a big level, seeing some nice rejection on the 4-hour and hourly charts there too. So it's an opportunity there to go along there for pound. I do think we can see a bit of a bounce. We're due a bounce, but my question marks come around how far will it go with USD looking so bullish. It's going to take a big turnaround for this one to really go. And of course, as a swing trade, I'm looking for those bigger moves and we potentially could see one. Of course, nothing is guaranteed, but probability is not quite there for me. So pound USD, nice place for a bounce, but I do think more downside is to come. Dollar CAD, I really like this one because we've seen a really big breakout on the weekly chart, and this has just flew to the upside. Of course, helped with the US dollar strength, but also CAD weakness too. I do think there's a long way to go still for dollar CAD, even though we've left some really big structure behind. So as you can see, really powerful resistance over here, just below 1.4. And if I zoom out a little bit, you can see we do have some major resistance up here around the 1.46 mark. And that's, to me, where most likely price is getting towards. If I go to the monthly chart and really zoom out of this one, you can see that's kind of where we get these massive wicks there on the monthly chart. 1, 2, looks like we're going to push back into that same area. So more upside for dollar CAD, most likely. It'll be interesting to see how the monthly candle does close for dollar CAD, because this area here is mostly resistance and we're just seeing wicks. Whereas at the moment, we do have a bit of a candle, and I wonder by the end of the month, do we leave a big wick or do we continue and see a close? And if we do see a close, that could be the sign of price maybe going for a breakout. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But for now, still more upside for dollar CAD. The plan is definitely looking for pullbacks. At the moment, the area that makes the most sense to me is definitely the retest of the high down over here, just above 1.415. So whip out the Fibonacci from the low to the high. You can see a lovely, meaningful move there back into the 0.618. Great little place to look for some longs should we get there for a retest. And of course, looking to swing it back to highs and potentially further. Aussie dollar looking very bearish. Aussie just being very bearish naturally. And of course, with USD strength this week, that has been the recipe for bearishness. Taking out these lows here, these lows as well. And it looks like we're going to those COVID lows from 2020 potentially, which is all the way down there. We still got 2022 lows to contend with. Yep, 2022, which are more or less coming into now. And again, might see a bit of a bounce because market is still very stretched. We've been falling since October, I think. Yeah, since October, market's been falling. So it probably does need a bit of a bounce. And we might see something like that. But again, if USD strength's here to stay and we keep pushing, I do think we will have a bit of a pullback, yes, but price will probably come back down and take it out. So Aussie dollar, again, potentially taking some buys, bit of counter trend plays could be the thing with USD, maybe for the next kind of couple of weeks. But I do think the bigger move is in favor of dollar strength. So that's kind of the direction I want to be trading in. No setups for me just yet, maybe apart from dollar CAD if we have the bigger pullback. Not really interested in Aussie dollar just yet because we're coming into some major resistance on the higher time frames. New Zealand dollar, I don't mind. So a really big breakout with this one as well. Breaking through this low here, really strong break of that support level. If I expand to the weekly chart, you can see we do have some support just below us, and that's probably where price is heading towards, down at 0.555. And yeah, if we can get some pullbacks again for New Zealand dollar, most likely we'll get some nice opportunities to keep shorting. There might be some counter opportunities to take advantage of retracement, but this is the move I do favor there with New Zealand dollar. So pullbacks, yes, market's a bit stretched, so a pullback is probably likely to happen anyway, but I would only be looking to short New Zealand dollar. And yeah, I do think more downside is to come. In terms of gold, big move to the downside as well from the news, and we had a bit of a continuation yesterday. I talked a lot about this area of support. It came back for a nice little retest and a nice rejection as well. I do think we can see a bit more downside for gold back down to the lows here at 25.60. Strong break of this support level. Nice rejection yesterday with that big wick. I do think we can continue to roll over. So in terms of entries, in terms of trades, if you're looking to get involved with gold, probably would say I would wait for another push back to the high here so I can get nice stop loss placement. Taking any trades in this area is going to be a little bit more difficult because you do run the risk of potentially that bigger pullback. If we get back to the high here, you know, it's just a better place to put your stop loss. And of course, the risk reward will be better as well. So two birds, one stone type of thing. But overall, I do think gold is likely to keep falling there. And silver as well, its partner in crime, also looking very bearish too. Yeah, even more bearish actually. Really strong break of that daily support. and we've continued. So with silver, the funny thing is I'm still looking for buys. It's not ready yet to be bought 100%. After that wick from the weekly chart yesterday and the momentum this week, it's definitely not ready to be bought yet. And I wonder, are we having a bigger pullback, potentially back down to some of these areas? That could be the case. But I'm just going to kind of wait on the sidelines and ready for when that buy opportunity does come. At the moment, still not quite there yet, but keeping a close eye. And if anything, we probably will see a bit more corrections and more continuation. So if you're looking to kind of trade for the momentum, trade for the week, I think shorts for silver still make the most sense. Yes, I still think the bigger move is up, and that's what I'll be waiting for, but no sign of that just yet. So yeah, for silver as well, pullbacks, more downside is what I'm expecting. And that kind of summarizes where I'm at with the USD markets.